Howdy, everybody. Humanities 4, Shasta College, as we make our way through the history of films. This is our last week. And now I know a lot of you are just scrambling to finish everything. The only thing I have advice for is hand in everything. It's all due right now. Class ends officially on Thursday. It takes me at least 7 days after Thursday to grade the papers. So have patience on that. Don't expect it sooner because you know how slow I am on this stuff. Um, I've had a lot of desperate emails about and texts about the journal. This usually happens the last week when people haven't kept up on the journal. Only thing I could tell you, it's a diary of 17 weeks of what we've done in here. Look at the samples. I've posted them twice. That's what a mediocre one looks like from one of my old students, and they got an A on it. If you finish it, you'll get an A on it. If there's a bunch of blanks and you don't have all of it there, you won't do so good. But just have a brief description of what we did that week, what you read that week in the textbook, what you saw on the documentaries I've asked you to watch, what I've talked about in my lectures, perhaps what your paper was about, and a little reflection, meaning kind of like a Yelp review. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you learn anything? So it's not, I'm not judging you. I'm not. I'm looking at to make sure you paid attention. We're not in class anymore. So I don't know where you guys are. And this proves that you were in the class online, of course, and you're paid attention each week and you did the assignments each week. And if you missed some of it, say I missed it. You missed 4 or 5 of them, you're going to lose quite a few points. Uh, that means 4 or 5 weeks. That's a little too much. I know we all have our heavy lives, private lives, jobs, family, and all this other stuff, but we are in school and you got to dedicate and be serious about your time in these classes. That's it, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. Besides today, you think, what's he going to talk about now? Oh, hey, listen, we haven't even scratched the surface. We're going to start all over again. We're going to go back to 1928. I'm sort of kidding. Um, Quickly, I want to talk about the state of the art of our obsession with celebrities in this country, stemming mostly from films. Yes, rock and roll, or whatever you guys might call it now, pop music, electro dance music, whatever. Yes, we're obsessed with these people. Um, Look, a good example is the Johnny Depp trial with his ex-wife Amber Heard, and they've been suing each other for the last several weeks. And it's all on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube if you have a desire, and you get to see who do you believe, Johnny or Amber? Um, they were both abusive, in my opinion, and I don't think anybody's going to win in that one. But it shows further our obsession with wealthy people in this culture. We have an obsession with Jeff Bezos, Donald Trump, and Elon Musk because they're wealthy. Um, why? They had an idea or two that made a boatload of money. Usually, someone else does the hard work, by the way. Um, Johnny Depp has earned his money. Absolutely. He was great as Jack Sparrow. Should he be given carte blanche to be an idiot who owns too many houses, has too many girlfriends, does too many drugs, and can't remember half of his life? Does that give him an excuse? Yeah, it does in our culture. He's got 27 bodyguards who take care of his every needs. He's like a little baby who can't hardly walk on his own. without help. Anyway, and I like Johnny Depp as an actor. I'm not so sure as a human being. Um, but the obsession continues. Is this what we want? Our 15 minutes of fame plus $15 billion with it that does nothing to earn their money besides having a wealthy dad, and their stepdad was Bruce Jenner. I mean, the Kardashians is a great example of a family that does nothing besides have really large body parts, like their bottoms, huge. And they're making billions off that as influencers. Wow. Who would ever thought? I've never heard them speak. I have no desire. I don't care who they're dating. Uh, it's all they're just billionaires playing in the play in all the playlands of the world where you and I can't go because we don't own islands or private jets and the whole bit. But we're obsessed with these people. And there's an example. At least Johnny Depp earned his money. He's got talent. I hope you guys are getting this video because on my end it's all jumpy and choppy and it's not looking very good. So I'm not going to redo it. So I'm going to put it out there like that. Hopefully, when it uh, comes to you, it's smoothed out. Anyway, um, yeah, I'm pretty disgusted by the state of celebrity in this country. We seem to want it, but we don't earn it. And why we want it? Because we want to be noticed or prove that we exist. Yeah, well, you can do that in a lot of different ways. Go write a novel, go make your own movie on your cell phone, go do something outstanding. Walk the Pacific Crest Trail, do something meaningful, give back something to humanity instead of just taking. New cars, new cell phones, all this stuff is pretty meaningless at the end of the day. Anyway, I'm not going to go off on that right now because you'll go, oh, listen to the old professor going off on all the things he hates. I don't hate anything. I'm disappointed by most of what's out there, but that's not hate. I still believe in movies. That's why I love teaching this class. So I'm going to give you my top movies of each decade that we've been going through in this class. Actually, I'm going to start in the 20s. Not before then. It would have to probably be a. I mean, I have some favorite old silent films, like Trip to the Moon. I showed you guys. I think movie's a trip. I'm just amazed on how clever it is. But in the 1920s, my favorite silent films, yes, I have a couple. We didn't watch them in this class. One of them is by the French filmmaker Abel Gance, who you have no idea who I'm talking about. He directed a 6-hour movie called Napoleon. That's right, folks, based on Napoleon. And I saw it live in a movie theater in Oakland with the Oakland Symphony playing the score. It was magnificent on the big screen. I'll put it up there with Star Wars or Indiana Jones, any of that. Without this movie, Abel Gance's Napoleon, there would be no Star Wars or Kurosawa or George Lucas, Steve Spielberg. This film defines early epic. He was inventing camera shots, camera movement we never seen before. You can look at the previews on YouTube, rent the whole movie. The other silent film of that era by King Vidor is called The Crowd. It's a masterwork of brilliance about a guy living, and he wants in New York City, crowded New York City, working at a mundane office with hundreds of other people lost in the crowd. He wants to have some meaning to his life. Well, let me tell you, folks, he didn't get it. And meaning he wants his 15 minutes. He wants to stick out somehow from the crowd. But tragedy after tragedy prevails until at the very end he accepts his place in the world and enjoys his life for a moment. Brilliant movie. The Crowd. Serious science films. These aren't comedies. 1930s, My Man Godfrey, one of the greatest screwball comedy ever made. Carol Lombard and is brilliant in it. She died selling war bonds in 1942 in an airplane crash in, I think, Death Valley, or possibly, I'm not sure. I think it is Death Valley somewhere in the mountains. She was only 36 years old, so she was married to Clark Gable, famous movie star. My other favorite 30s film would probably be John Ford. John Ford, any of them. I'm just said Stagecoach right now, but my favorite actually is Drums Along the Mohawk with Henry Fonda, Claudette Colbert. It's just a period piece set in the Revolutionary War, and it looks like you're there. It actually looks like it was filmed there. That's how real it feels. But he did Stagecoach and so many others. The Informer. Later on, he directed all the John Wayne movies, from The Searchers to Fort Apache to She Wore Yellow Ribbon. His credentials are, we'll never see the credentials like that again. Directed something like 150 movies, a lot of them silent movies. They crank out the movies in those days, not like nowadays. Anyway, in the 40s, it would have to be John Huston's Treasure Sierra Madre. Um, I watch that film twice a year and never get tired of it. Brilliant, with Humphrey Bogart and Walter Houston. John Huston's dad won the Academy Award for that. About guys in Mexico mining for gold. It's not a western, uh, but it kind of looks like a western. I mean, they have pack mules. They don't have cars, although it's filmed in modern day for the times, which I think it's supposed to be filmed in the 20s. It wasn't filmed in the 20s; it's filmed in the 40s, but I think it's supposed to be set in the 1920s. Uh, Wonderful story about overambitious and greed and what it does to three guys and turns one of them into a murderous psychopath. All for the glistening and the glitter of gold. My other film would have to probably be Citizen Kane by Orson Welles. You wrote your paper on it, I think. I hope. You can't get past it. I've seen the film many, many, many times, and I always discover something new in it. Yes, I teach the film, so I have to watch it, but sometimes I watch it by myself, and I'm thinking, "What am I watching this film? Why?" I'm not assigned to write a paper. It does never get old. The acting is brilliant, the writing, directing, the whole bit. Revolutionary film for sure. Yes, there's a ton of other 40s films I'm leaving out, a ton, but I'm only giving you my highlights. 50s, we go into Ilya Kazan's Streetcar Named Desire, starring Marlon Brando. I love that play, Tennessee Williams. I love the movie. I love Marlon Brando's so brilliant in it. It was a game changer at the time. Never get tired of it. Never get tired of it. My second film from the 50s would be Sunset Boulevard by uh, Billy Wilder, who directed maybe 10 of the best films ever made in the history of films. One of them would be Double Indemnity and the great comedy, Some Like It Hot, The Apartment, brilliant, brilliant movie, The Apartment, Stalag 17, all incredibly brilliant. He's from Germany, migrated to this country when he's escaping the Nazis in the 30s, and had a huge, important career. Sunset Boulevard's about a down on an outs, down on his heels screenwriter who cannot sell a script, but he's a handsome dude and played by William Holden, and he's picked up by a wealthy silent film star who Gloria Swanson, who's wonderful in it, and he starts living with her in a big mansion in the Hollywood Hills. She buys him fancy clothes and watches and rings and lighters, and actually he's a kept man. They don't show sex, folks. They don't have to. We know what's going on. We're adults. And he's ashamed of his life. And right when you think there might be some salvation and he's going to leave her, she shoots him in the back and kills him. Oh, well. Um, so be careful about those wealthy people who want to take care of you. A lot of them don't like to let you go. 1960s, I would have to say the early 60s would definitely be Lawrence of Arabia by David Lean, one of the great epics ever filmed. Peter O'Toole, based on a true story. Other great films from that area, like Lindsay Anderson's If, which I never talked about much here, but we did talk about. And then the great Ingmar Bergman directed maybe 10 of the greatest films in history from 1960 to 1970, one of which would be Persona. In subtitles, folks, Sweden, Eye of the Wolf. I'm going to stop completely this image I'm getting, so I hope it works out. Yeah, the 60s. Then we have The Graduate and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant movies. Easy Rider, of course. Bonnie and Clyde, one of the great pop culture crime movies ever made with Warren Beatty and the great Faye Dunaway. 70s, we got several of my favorites. Five Easy Pieces of Jack Nicholson. Badlands with Martin Sheen, Sissy Spacek, directed by Terrence Malick. Taxi Driver by Martin Scorsese. Shampoo, starring Warren Beatty again, directed by the great Hal Ashby. Devastating films that I could go back to over and over again for their brilliance. Never get tired of them. The 80s, it gets tougher on me. Probably Down by Law by Jim Jarmusch, black and white film with Tom Waits. Really hilariously deadpan funny. When I call it deadpan funny, the humor is so dry, it's not obvious. It's not an Adam Sandler movie. Don't get me started about Adam Sandler. Anyway, who's not deadpan or dry. He's over the top silly, and I know he's popular for that. Anyway, Down by Law. Then I'd have to throw a Stanley Kubrick movie in there. Full Metal Jacket is, I think, a wonderful anti-war film. Supposedly set in Vietnam, but it's all filmed in London. Yes, London, folks. Uh, Kubrick had a phobia of traveling, and so they made Vietnam. They made London into Vietnam. And when you watch the movie, you never have a clue. It looks like it was filmed in Vietnam. Watch it. Prove if I'm right or right or not. 90s, it gets more difficult. That's indie film years when I made a couple of films myself. Some really cool stuff. I shared some of it with you down, not Down by Law, but The Laws of Gravity. Anything by Hal New York filmmaker who's fallen out of favor. Too bad. Goodfellas by Martin Scorsese, probably his last great movie he ever made. And if anybody gets to make 8 great movies in their life, like he has, he's earned his genius level. 2000s gets a little rougher, but I'd have to put Requiem for a Dream in there because it's based on a novel I love. Hey, I don't suggest this book for anybody. It's rated X, and I don't mean it's rated X because it's all full of porn. It's rated X because it's about a guy who's a heroin addict and his downward spiral. And you know who he is. He's one of your favorite villains in one of the Batmans. Everybody loves this guy. He's out there still. Why can't I think of his name? It's one of his early movies that he's in. Who's one of the best? Everybody loves him. He's kind of androgynous, got long black hair. You know who I'm talking about. All the girls love him, and the guys like him too. Can't think of his name, but there's some crazy ass heroin scenes in there. He's so addicted to heroin that his arm that constantly shoots up in gets gangrene, and he has to have it cut off, or he's going to die. But it's also a very funny movie. Ellen Bernstein, it's wonderful, and it's very uniquely filmed. Very uniquely filmed. And I have to add a Mexican film called E2 Tambien Mama Tambien, which I think means You Too Mama, about two guys who are on a road trip with an couple years older, sexy woman. They all have sort of a menage going on. It's really real, and it's adult revolution. The filmmaker later on went on to do Birdman, which is a great one of the latest films that came out 5 years ago. Michael Keaton. They're still making great movies, guys. They're few and far between because Hollywood is in the endless cycle of giving the audience endless sequels, not like it used to be. Original work is harder and harder to come by. Some guys are still doing good work out there, and I look forward to their movies. Quentin Tarantino. You notice I haven't since mentioned in his films. I like Quentin a lot. That his films never get the best for me. That's okay because I see kind of where he's coming from. I see all the movies he's copying. You want to see where Quentin gets all his ideas. Watch films from the action films from the 80s in Hong Kong. He copies all of it. And once you know that, yes, he's a clever boy. He is, no doubt about it. Anyway, and it continues. We'll be talking about this more. I just want you guys to get out there and know that this is the end, but it's not the end. It's the beginning. Hopefully, it's the beginnings of something for you all. I'm closer to the end, believe me, than you are, but I have a lot of hopes and dreams. I'm writing a three one act plays that are all connected that I hope to put on stage with live music, and I hope to make them into three films too. Maybe you want to help, maybe not. But so I got my hopes and dreams still going. Hopefully, you guys do too. Yes, these are tough times, the COVID and the wars in Ukraine and the ugly politics in Washington, D.C., and the shootings in Buffalo and all the stuff that is going on. And it's a hard world we're living in right now. But I'm only going to say, you've got to make a difference, your mark somehow. It's not easy. It's got to be creative and never give up on your passion, whatever that may be. I'll talk to you guys soon. When the story of film continues, and remember this, everything is cinema.